Side of the Pond podcast.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. We have a trilogy.
Yeah, we've made it this far.
Jeremy Lance, DJ Schweitzer. Another full week of games. We got a lot to talk about. We got obviously all the Premier League action from the weekend. We'll also look at a little bit of the MLS. Their action of the weekend, or lack of action for certain teams.
Yeah.
Not going to name any names yet.
Not yet. We'll get to it.
Also, we got the never-ending transfer saga as the world turns in Gareth Bale's slow, inevitable move outside of Tottenham.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to spend the whole podcast talking about that.
So have you been warned about that?
No, but I'm warning myself. Otherwise,
that's
I could spend the whole time talking about it. So
self-medicating?
Yeah.
Okay. So we won't spend a whole lot of time on it.
Yeah, let's not start there. Let's get my mind off it for a few minutes.
All right, well, let's just get into, because it's Monday night. The big clash of the Titans sort of took place today.
Yeah, they told us it was going to be a clash of the Titans.
Chelsea, Manchester United, the big matchup in week 2/3.
Yeah.
Chelsea's already on their third game.
Yeah, they are.
Certainly did not live up to the hype.
No, it wasn't exactly what you would call exciting. There were elements to it that were exciting.
I mean, listen, as a Chelsea fan, I was excited.
Yeah.
I was at the edge of my seat, but that's just because that's just how I spend every game.
Well, that's true. Were you mostly excited by their lack of striker?
No, I was mostly miffed/angered.
Yeah.
By the fact that we were going the false nine Spanish-style nonsense.
Yeah.
Finally making it to the Premier League, the false nine.
That's true.
Wow, that was not good.
You know who else was not happy about that?
Who was not happy about it?
I think one Fernando Torres was really upset about it.
That face. You got a great screen grab of that yesterday?
Yeah, we put it on at home, and my wife had the remote, and I said, hey, pause that. And she's like, why? And just pause it. Walk over, snap a picture. She goes, Twitter.
That's the face that greeted me after the match there in Indianapolis when I tried to get an interview, and he just said,
why are you even talking to me?
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And just sulked off.
Yeah, typical.
That face.
Yeah. We have a new L sulk, not lay sulk.
He eventually made it on and
did Torres things.
Was marginally effective. I mean, he made his runs.
Yeah.
No one put the ball into him.
No, he was really about as effective as he has been since he's been brought on. So
it was a frustrating game because with their no striker tactic, nobody. I guess they didn't draw straws for who was going to make the runs into the box.
Right.
So no one did.
No, it was like a headless horseman. Like they literally had no point of their attack at all.
So when Torres finally came on, I was like, well, at least someone's going to attempt to make a run into the box. They're not going to pass it to him because that would break tradition for the past year and a half now.
Right.
But at least someone's going to attempt to make a run?
Yeah. I mean, no one wanted to actually be the guy who actually made the final run.
No.
So you would expect someone to make a run in behind. You know, De Bruyne looked like he was mostly playing the central role. But
until he got concussed.
Yeah, that's
true.
And
was bleeding all over the place.
He didn't seem to notice he was bleeding for probably a good solid 5 minutes. He's like, oh.
He looked like the bully on A Christmas Story after he got beat up.
Yeah, he did look a bit that way. He does have that baby face, too.
Yeah.
Kind of like a doll face. So, anyway.
So the false nine, which some people were saying, that was Jose Mourinho's way of just going, hey, Rooney, look, the job's yours. We have nobody.
We don't even have anyone that can play there.
Well, we can't play anybody.
So it was amazing. Demba Ba wasn't even on the bench.
Not even on the bench. They played midweek against Aston Villa. Demba Ba was a trash fire.
Yes.
He was awful.
Yes.
Called offside 5 times.
Yep.
Because he could not, for the life of him, stay onside.
Well, he is not.
I was so frustrated with that.
Absolutely. He was really, really bad midweek. He's not a Jose Mourinho striker either.
Not.
Yeah, I mean, he is destined to leave or destined to train alone in the reserves. I mean,
Flora Maludo style.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean,
and we talked about this before. Like, Torres really isn't that style either. Demba Ba isn't that style. And Lukaku is, but Lukaku's not ready to be the guy at a big European club.
Well, do we know that yet? Why are we assuming that he can't?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going with Josie on this one.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree. And look, he did have most of his impact last year coming off the bench. But, I mean, you may as well try him, right?
But he became the guy there at West Brom.
Oh,
I mean, he was...
He did, but he didn't exactly lock down his spot.
You can see the noticeable absence of him at West Brom.
That's true, judging by how many goals they had over the weekend. Yeah.
Or of the season.
Well, true.
Also the same number.
Yeah, that's very true as well.
So it was, I know a lot of people were pretty bummed out that it was kind of a dull match. But listen, everyone was going to play conservative because it's too early in the season. No one wanted to lose.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No one was really, people were playing to maybe nick a goal and win. No one was playing to lose. No one was going balls out. It was, well, Chelsea physically couldn't because they had nobody to spearhead an offense.
Right. But at the same time, Man United, I mean, well, let's start here. Rooney makes an appearance. Not only makes an appearance, but started and played very well. But he really was lacking someone to find him the ball on a consistent basis.
Him and Van Persie were not on the same page at all.
No, not exactly. Not exactly at all.
Welbeck was kind of just there.
He was. No, he was back to being Danny Welbeck. He had that excellent chance in the box towards the end of the match where he really, just sidestepped. Had a great open chance and curled it nowhere near on goal.
So it finishes 0-0. The Premier League is trying to build up these Monday night matches.
Right.
And that was the reason why we were getting this big matchup week 2. But you see the faults of putting together a big matchup this early in the season.
Because the teams haven't exactly finalized yet.
Yeah.
Haven't solidified and suddenly we're left with, two teams still trying to put their pieces together.
The window's still open. Spots have not been secured.
And that's what actually brings about what you just said a minute ago. They're not going to really go gung-ho this early in the season when no one wants to give away their secrets, 1, and 2. No one's really figured out what their secrets are yet.
Well, Mourinho did give away one secret. He is just crazy enough to try a false start at the Premier League.
Well, that's true.
Learned one thing.
Well, he learned something in Spain. So, Barcelona, if you don't think you ever impacted Jose Mourinho.
There you go.
Yeah. False 9.
You know what? I guess, to Jose's credit, you got to play to your strengths. And what have we talked about with Chelsea? Chelsea has anything. They have
midfielders.
A plethora of midfielders.
Which, by the way...
Shall we sidestep to that for a minute?
Let's side just for a minute. Willian, why?
I was even saying, I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm saying, why are we signing this guy?
That seemed to be the universal response from every Chelsea fan I've talked to.
I think this is Jose going to ABB. Listen, you used to work for me. I'll tell you what players you can have.
Let me remind you who runs things in this league.
You used to be my video guy.
Yeah. I was shocked by it. It did seem exactly like, Abramovich swept in just to be like, have that, Tottenham. Nope, I don't think so today.
But let's get into the 2 ramifications of that. Mata or Moses. I'm going to say Moses is already out.
Well,
he hasn't even made a sheet.
Right.
He has not even been on the bench yet.
You'd think he was gone at the beginning of the season to begin with.
Jose tried to tell everyone he physically was missing at one point.
Where is he gone?
Where is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty hard to miss. He's a big guy.
He's a big dude.
So... yeah, you'd think Moses is gone, but Mata, that's the one. Again, I mean,
head scratcher.
Yeah, went unused. Consistently, he's been their player of the season the last 2 seasons?
Last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
yep.
so
again, not the greatest 2 seasons
right.
Chelsea has had.
I mean, maybe Mourinho's thinking, well, he can't crack into the national team consistently. Why is he going to crack into my squad?
Well, I was listening to the guys on TalkSport today as I was driving to work and listening to the pregame, and they kind of were talking about how Jose has noticed something that they made a kind of a good argument for. Mata is a great player, but he has disappeared during big games.
Yeah.
And I think Jose he's looking at the mindset of we're going to be a top club. We're going to be playing in big games. And I don't know, maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just the fact that he doesn't play any bit of defense, really, so he doesn't fit into that scheme.
Well, I'll take him if you don't want him.
Someone's going to take the rumors are out everywhere.
Yeah.
Apparently Arsenal, Spurs.
Everyone's interested.
United apparently wants him.
Who wouldn't want him?
Well, you know what? United should probably take him because United actually needs some legit midfielders.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to say. I mean, everyone at the top of the league could use a Juan Mata.
Except for Chelsea, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. So that is really confusing.
Buddy.
So, Willian, thank you for hijacking him. We didn't want to pay $37 million for him.
This was a guy I thought we were signing 2-3 years ago.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and we thought we were signing him last year. Liverpool fans, by the way, still think that.
Still waiting.
Yeah. Well, they
still waiting.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where they're saying, "Well, get your own scouts." Well, actually, everyone's been chasing him for a while now.
Yeah, he's kind of been a name that's been out there.
Yeah. So get out of here, Liverpool fans, with that malarkey.
So Chelsea, Man U, they draw the big match.
Right.
Was a fizzle. They also won midweek against Aston Villa. One other note I did have on that Chelsea game that I know Man U fans are going to be talking about this all week is the not one but two no calls on blatant handballs. Mainly the Lampard one that was actually in the box.
Right.
Fairly blatant. The Ashley Cole one probably even more blatant. Both of them not called.
No.
What's he going to do?
Atkinson looked really hesitant to do much of anything.
like his strategy was more conservative than Moyes and Mourinho's.
Right. I'm going to give everyone a few warnings.
He didn't want to lose the game either.
Yeah, he didn't want to have a bad showing, on when all the eyes of the world are on him. So who knows? Yeah, that's absolutely something that should be mentioned. But yeah,
I'm sure United fans will bring it up a few times this week.
Right.
All right. Do we want to get into the rest of the matches around the week? And I guess we have to start with the big news out of the weekend.
Well, which one is
Cardiff
that?
City 3.
Yeah.
Manchester City 2.
Oh, was that a shocking result?
That was kind of a shocking result.
You're right. It was a really shocking result. So that was nuts, to be completely honest. No, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
First of all, great. And what the marketing blunder that was today's match, the buzz, even here in America, off of that match, is really great. I mean, there are people talking about this match.
Yeah.
That normally are not talking soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was NBC's kind of showcase event.
And they've just switched up for next week. They're gonna have the Cardiff Everton game as their 11 o'clock on NBC Sports Network.
Well, I guess they've made fans of everyone over here stateside.
Is that a good strategy though to sell
Cardiff? I don't know. I mean,
don't you want to sell a team that's guaranteed to be here next year?
Well, I mean, right now there aren't a whole lot of teams you can say that about.
And they're kind of selling Liverpool a bit.
Yeah.
And Liverpool's been two of their broadcasts, their actual TV broadcasts have been Liverpool.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. Cardiff maybe not the wisest choice overall.
But it's the Cinderella story. It's
really
what we
is.
all love here in America.
We do.
We love the underdog, although as Americans we aren't generally
the underdogs. Yeah, that's true, except for in football.
But one thing that came out, well, first of all, the most important thing that came out of this match was we got to meet, officially now my favorite person in all the Premier League, Cardiff City owner, Vincent Tan.
Yeah.
When he walked out onto the field, tucked in jersey.
Over top of button down. With tie. There's a tie on underneath that.
We're talking dress slacks.
He has dress slacks on.
The kit is tucked into it.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is amazing. On
slicked hair.
Yeah, slicked hair.
Pencil-thin mustache and sunglasses.
Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
It was amazing. He seemed like an NBC character that suddenly popped into existence, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they have this on air. Like, this is live. They planted this guy. No, he's the actual owner.
He is the actual owner of an EPL club.
So this is the crazy guy who has gone and changed their colors, has switched their logo to include a dragon and drop their traditional bluebird. I mean,
right. People still call them the Bluebirds, yet
they wear red.
There's a dragon on their
He authorized the terrible two-tone jersey and shorts earlier this year that we talked about.
Moves.
Yeah, so he's made a lot of poor moves, but his greatest move is his fashion sense on match days. And apparently this isn't a new thing either. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've watched a lot of championship matches, but I've definitely never seen him before. But I went and Googled it, and there are like 100 pictures of him wearing like all their uniforms over the years.
Within the next day or two, that's going to be that's a blog in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably
That's a Tumblr right there.
Well, I might even wear that, to work tomorrow.
Let's do it.
Yeah, a kit on over top of my tie.
But when you see that guy, you say to yourself, that man's worth $1.3 billion US.
Well, everyone stumbles into that money every once in a while.
I guess. The other actual football story about that, and I kind of heard it a little bit going into the season, and still some talks about it afterwards, after the season started. A lot of people starting to say, is Joe Hart the man for this job?
There are a lot of people.
There's
that are
a lot of people calling this guy into question. Not only for that, also, I mean, the national team. He's been lackluster.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot more on the national team side.
True.
And it's been a lot more a part of the discussion. I think that's England's thing is they want to.
Well, because that's their team.
Yeah, absolutely, and they want to beat down kind of whoever has the starting position so they can always woe themselves. But at the same time, Hart has slipped a little bit.
He has,
and maybe he's suffering from short confidence or. Yeah, who knows?
It was weird. I went to go look up his stats to kind of see how he kind of compared last season to everyone else, and I couldn't use stats from last season because unlike every other club, City played one keeper all year, and it was Joe Hart.
Right.
There was no days off.
Right.
So I couldn't even really go with the stats. Like obviously he led the league in clean sheets because he started every match.
Right.
So I couldn't really go off of that, but I don't know. I mean, do you think there's anything to that? Like, if you're Joe Hart, are you looking? I don't even know who the number 2 is there.
Well, I mean, it's like every other English star, maybe. I mean, maybe he's a good top-class keeper.
Sure.
But maybe he's not been, everyone's comparing him, to some of the greats already. Maybe that was a little premature. Everyone wanted to say Wayne Rooney was the greatest strikers of,
sure.
the generation, but is he really? So, I mean...
and Hart came into a position where he was taking over for Robert Green, so he was going to look good.
Anywhere but up.
Yeah.
Anywhere but up. I'm not willing to, say he's over the hill or that he's lost it or anything along those lines. Give him some time, but I don't disagree. He's in a bad run of form.
All right. You want to talk about it? Let's go. Spurs won. Swansea.
Well, second game of the season, second goal for Bobby Soldado. Love him.
Pizarro Vandervaart,
yeah, that's true. Our second penalty of the season already, which was amazing.
He's good from the spot.
He is good from the spot. We went all last year without a single penalty even given to us.
You kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy. And this year we have 2 in 2 games, and we converted both of them. So you have to be happy about that. Other than that, as a Spurs fan, I'm feeling a little wishy-washy about things right now. We missed out on Willian. Everyone was all pumped up about that. Everyone says we're going to get Lamela. Who knows? Now I'm questioning everything because Willian fell through, and we had a medical with him.
Some people are saying he's actually the better get out of the two.
Well, and that's who I've preferred from the start. I always wanted Lamela. He was a better prospect, better fit overall, more of a like for Bale as much as someone can be a like for Bale. But at the same time, Spurs are lacking something in the final third, a little creativity, someone to penetrate, actually get the ball up to Soldado's feet. We're getting good play down the wings. Chadley's leading the league in chances created so far. Aaron Townsend came in and had a really good match after doing, or at least impressing midweek. So we're getting good wing play, but we just don't have anyone that kind of unlocks things for us in the final third.
Right, I mean, yeah, you get to score a goal from active play.
Yeah. So, we were talking all weekend, are we even capable of scoring goals from the run of play right now? My wife is convinced that it's going to be Kabul, on a weird darting run. She thinks it's going to be Kabul that's going to be the one who breaks it over.
So, who has to step up and take over this offense?
So
Mr. Outside Hire, or you think the pieces are there?
I really don't know right now. I mean, I think they're still definitely trying to feel themselves out. I would love to see Lewis Holtby, who's supposed to be back fit this week. I'd like to see him get in and actually play the creative, midfield role. But at the same time, I think we have to get someone in. We have to get someone in. And whether or not it's, an attacking central creator or whether it's someone who can really be dynamic that's going to cut inside like Lamela, we need something. We need something, especially with the big match that's around the corner.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got the North London Derby.
Yeah, it's coming up this weekend. So
that's good.
Yeah, if you are in Cincinnati, I'm going to do a small plug. If we're going to be in Cincinnati, join me and Cincinnati Spurs and the Cincy Gooners. I hate to endorse them, but we're all going to be down at Rhine House for the 11 o'clock match. So come out and join us.
Show up in my Chelsea kit and just bum everyone out?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
If you want to.
I probably won't.
Please do. First beer's on me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm in.
All right, cool.
Me and my Torres jersey. Me and Mr. False Nine himself. We'll be there.
Know. Yeah. Yeah, we won't be able to see you because you'll be sitting on the bench in the back of the room. So.
Oh, yeah. I'll just sit there and sulk.
Yes.
I didn't do anything.
So, yeah, good result for Spurs, but we could expect more out of them.
Should we get to, though, the dark cloud that's, I guess, now going away from the Spurs? Should we talk about the fact that Bale is apparently going somewhere?
Is he? Do we know? He came back to England today.
Sure. And I guess he's probably going to, they say he'll be at camp tomorrow just training.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone knows what's going on in that entire situation right now. I'm not entirely convinced Real Madrid knows what's going on.
Well, I mean, let's break it down. Over the weekend, we had, first, what was it, Friday, we had all the reports coming out. You and me were kind of tweeting at each other at first. The online store, oops.
Slipped Bale on there. So you could order a Bale number 11 Real Madrid kit.
Those are really nice kits, by the way. Those look really good.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of want one. So he won't look weird in it. But at the same time, they put it up there. They jumped the gun there.
That's easy photoshopping.
Yeah, it really is. But they put it up there. Then they took the entire damn site down as a reaction to it. Like the whole thing, not just the store. I sent you that
screen cap from the mobile online.
Right.
The site is temporarily down.
Yeah. So the whole damn site was down. And then it was back up without the store, and then, of course, it was eventually gone.
But then right then and there, same day, a photo emerges of a stage erected
at the Bernabeu.
Yeah, right there, which I guess that's the way they do things there. That's the way they rolled out Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, it was different. So I'm a bit of a nerd. These are the type of things that I pay really close attention to.
Oh,
and so Ronaldo had this weird kind of ring
catwalk
down, catwalk down on field level. Bale's stage,
perp walk.
It was. You're right. He did strut about it and juggle it and walk like a peacock. But at the same time,
look up.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not free balling, or hopefully he is free balling.
On to Bale's stage, it was up kind of in the stand. It was up in the stands. So it wasn't exactly in the same spot, but at the same time, everyone knew what that stage was being built for. It was to give off a player and display him to the press and the fans and say, look what we've signed. And I don't think it was anyone other than Gareth Bale.
I don't think they're really dragging that thing out for a squad player.
And and Bale spent the weekend in Spain, so it seemed like all the pieces were in place.
We thought we were pretty much good to go. By the weekend, it was pretty much game, set, match. Yeah, I even heard, probably official announcement was going to be, Tuesday?
Yeah, there were a lot of dates and times that were thrown out. Whatever they were, none of it happened. And suddenly this morning, we catch news that he's on a flight back to London. And there are supposedly pictures floating around of him actually being in Heathrow.
And now the follow-up to that is that there's apparently one, maybe two mystery teams that are now also negotiating. What?
What? I know exactly what we're talking about, but I'm still flabbergasted.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, no. He was signing. This is happening. The stage is there. They almost started selling the jerseys. No, what are you talking about? Other teams?
There's really only one logical explanation for this. It's Madrid are stalling on something, and Daniel Levy's saying,
trying to get,
hey, we got other bids in. And they probably have had people inquire.
They threw out the two names that we already knew that kind of at least inquired. They threw out United and PSG. We already knew that at some point this summer they at least threw out the idea of making that move.
What top team in Europe isn't going to say, hey, it looks like you guys are selling him.
Hey, that wouldn't suck if we had him.
What would it take for me to get him from you? But at the same time, it's definitely something that's being used by Daniel Levy, Spurs chairman Daniel Levy, to actually jack up the price a little bit.
So you're thinking this is just smoke and mirrors. He will still probably by the end of this week, it has to be by the end of this week, be with Madrid.
I do think that it doesn't mean that I'm not holding out hope. Maybe because Willian signed with you guys, Daniel said, damn it, we're keeping him. And no price is going to be enough if Madrid aren't going to give me the number I want. So,
maybe he went to Spain, and that sun just melted his Welsh skin.
He
couldn't handle it.
It's too hot, mate.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm coming back home. I couldn't even make my heart symbol there. That's what I'm hoping.
The hands are too clammy.
Come on, Gareth. Come back and make it with us. So I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll certainly see.
Oh, well. All right, back to the games from
back
the
to
weekend.
The games. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Liverpool.
We got yelled
at. Yeah, we got yelled at. By Mel Buzz B. Definitely someone that we know in person. At least I do.
Yeah.
pretty mad that we haven't talked about Liverpool at all.
Club.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Liverpool.
Which, by the way, sidebar. Have you noticed that Fox Soccer has turned into just a 24/7 loop of being Liverpool over the weekend?
It's the zombie Fox Soccer, by the way.
And they finally have pulled Fox Soccer News.
Right.
They finally mercy killed that bad boy.
Yeah. They're like, oh, wait, we don't need to be paying to doing TV shows right now.
They already know they're fired. I'm surprised they even showed up to work.
Oh, that last one was probably, their, retroactive.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do this. We're here today.
And then they stole part of the set, or at least their wardrobe, on their way out the door.
Yeah, probably. So, Liverpool, let's be honest, they've actually played pretty well this season. Everyone kind of was curious to see how they do without Suarez. They've done fairly well. They're dominating play. They're getting goals out of Daniel Sturridge right now, who is actually playing really well.
He's stepping up.
Yeah, he is stepping up.
Someone has to.
So, on one hand, I've definitely been impressed with them, but at the same time, they have lacked in finishing off their chances. They should have had probably 4 to 5 goals in their opening match, and you probably could say 2 to 3 in their last one, and they didn't exactly.
They outshot Villa. I'm sorry, they actually got outshot by Villa, 17-5.
Wow.
Yeah, I was looking up the stats. And I was completely thrown off by that one.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Villa, too, because I thought they were, again, impressive in the second half of their game, at least.
Mm-hmm.
The first half was atrocious. Liverpool completely dominated the flow of the game. But after halftime, Paul Lambert must have said something to him, got him back out, and they played really, really well again. So I think this is a team.
Well, they played well, and I think Liverpool eventually kind of got to that point in the match where they're like, all right, we're good with the 1-0. Let's try to hold it.
Yeah, that's probably true. They did sit in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think Villa is going to be a team to watch out for this season. I think they're going to cause a lot of damage. So, playing really well.
Sturridge, getting it done.
He really is. So, for those Liverpool fans that were angry about Luis Suarez possibly being shipped off, and who knows if he's going to or not, I think there's still a story left to be told in that entire saga as well.
Yeah.
But, that said, Daniel Sturridge may be the answer.
When Sturridge left Chelsea, I was a little bummed out because I liked Sturridge at Chelsea for the main reason that he was the only guy until Torres showed up that actually wore the long sleeves.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I always thought that looks better. I like the long sleeves.
Everyone likes them until you have to wear them, and then you end up pulling them up anyway.
Even in the dead of winter?
I like wearing short sleeves in the dead of winter. Like to be kind of Spartan.
I guess I'm not as manly.
Yeah, I know.
But
And you said you're from up north.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't be the first bit of evidence when we find out that I'm not as manly.
After this, when we're having a winter podcast.
I'm drinking a chai latte right now, by the way.
Yeah. So this guy isn't that manly. But I'm saying, in the winter, we should definitely go outside and see who can stand shirtless the longest.
I actually probably could do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so there were some other games, too. Newcastle 0, West Ham 0. I have written down here about 35 Zs. So
the only note from that is that Kabay was not on the sheet.
Yeah.
So, question marks? Where's he going? What?
Somewhere, maybe? Probably not.
Arsenal looking to possibly overpay?
Yeah. Seems likely. Panic buy? Who knows? Who knows what's going on there? What other games were happening? Hull City 1, Norwich 0.
That's a pretty impressive victory by Hull City.
Yeah, they played well. Norwich actually dominated possession.
Well,
had something like 60% of possession.
Hull played with 10 men from the 27th minute on.
That's also impressive.
They only had 38% possession.
Yeah, so there's the math.
It's not the math. I just wrote it down from what the computer told me.
Well, it's still math.
It is. It's numbers.
That's true. What were some other games that went on?
Stoke 2, Crystal Palace 1. Not much off of that one. I was feeling really happy for Crystal Palace because they actually took the lead there at one point.
Their fans, once again, were great, despite being the away fans. 2 player comments from that match. One, I hate Charlie Adam. I hate him.
He had a goal.
He had a goal. The other one is Chamakh, former Arsenal player. Was practically a ghost for them. Really didn't do very much at all. And here he is. He scores a goal in his home debut for Palace. His first start for Palace. But what I really wanted to say about Chamakh is his hair is just terrible still.
Not good.
No. So I want to urge him to move on.
You going to send him some product? Or?
No, I'm not going to send him any product. Of course, I know Shamak will definitely be listening to this. But, Morone, please do something different with that hair. It's time. It's time.
Everton, West Brom. How many Z's did you put next to that one?
Also, okay. I put not sure, probably a bunch of Z's again. That's exactly what I wrote. So it was a pretty boring game. I watched highlights of it. There weren't many. Back-to-back
draws for Everton.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they have Cardiff this weekend, but I kind of talked about it in our preview podcast. Is this going to be a slip? Is this going to be the year they kind of regress a little?
I mean, they're having an Everton season so far.
Yeah. I mean, West Brom, Norwich, they should win at least one of those, right?
You'd think, but at the same time, new manager. Unsettled players, perhaps, and Fellaini and Baines. What
do you think the mindset is right now of Fellaini and Baines?
Fellaini looks like he's always kind of wanting to get off and do his own thing. So I can't imagine he wouldn't probably want out.
I remember at that deadline day back in January, he was like the name that so many people were possibly going to go for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it seemed like he was
United
gone
or
for
Chelsea,
sure.
Yeah.
And now he's still there. And
his name really, I feel like the buzz is a little tampered down.
Well, I mean, his play's been a little tampered down, to be honest, the last two outings. So who knows what's going to happen with them. But I do agree. He has kind of not been what he was.
And I just wrote down here, and we kind of talked about it a minute ago, West Brom, just toothless.
Yeah.
It took till midway through that match for them to have their first shot on goal of the season.
I don't really have anything to comment on about that. I mean, it's just... Ugh. So for anyone...
Shane Long.
I feel bad for NBC a little bit. They've been selling this league up as like the most exciting league in the world, and we're really off to kind of a slow start this season.
A little sluggish.
So the other result that we haven't really talked much about at all, crisis averted.
Well, hold on, quickly. Southampton, Sunderland, 1-1 draw. The only note I have on that is what didn't happen in that match, what happened away from that match, which was a laughable, rejected $10 million bid by Sunderland for Michael Bradley. Are you kidding me?
I saw that it was actually a bit lower than that.
That's worse.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean...
I saw $10 million. Maybe that was the U.S. equivalent.
Yeah, I mean...
Sometimes they do that and don't tell you.
Roma seem like everyone on their roster except for like De Rossi and Totti are available and for sale if the price is right.
Then there it is. If the price is right.
If the price is right. And I've seen, I have a few friends that are actually Roma fans, which those are kind of hard to come across. But at the same time...
Where are they watching their games on?
Satellite television, probably. I mean, BN.
They play a few.
Yeah. Live feeds.
Oof.
So... That's
a rough way to live.
Yeah,
That's a rough way to live.
Everyone's got, their fix, and for some people it's Roma.
But
at the same time, they seem really upset with Lamela possibly going and with Bradley being inquired about. They've had a few other players go. So, it was insulting, but at the same time, you'd think they'd probably put in a quality bid for a player of his quality. Now, I'd rather be at Roma where
he seems content.
Yeah, I mean, he does, but... Who knows? Maybe the Premier League offers a little bit more money.
Roma's a better team.
That's true.
All right, let's move on. All right, crisis averted.
Right.
All is well. All is well.
It's either gloom and doom or, sunny skies.
Top of the league.
Yeah, right. So 3-1 to the Arsenal. They bury Fulham. They actually looked pretty good throughout most of the match. The funny thing about that entire match to me is Fulham is like the Spurs trash heap. They had Taarabt, Parker, Berbatov, Bent, and manager Martin Jol. All former Spurs players.
Parker just doesn't fit in that jersey.
Yeah.
I'm just not liking it.
He does his thing.
He's a classic-looking dude.
He really is. But he just...
That Tottenham shirt fit him so well.
It really did. But, I was happy to see him go. So
he was doing nothing for you.
Yeah, he was really a dead end for us. But at the same time, they really got put under by Arsenal. I mean, that Arsenal looked really good. There's a lot of talk of Podolski potentially going. He doubled up on him.
But that's, I guess, the question. I asked it last week about Manchester City. How much of this was Arsenal playing well, and how much of this was Fulham is that bad?
I hoped you would ask that. And what I'm going to refer to next was some comments from Wenger post-match. I don't know if it was today or yesterday after the match.
Can you do the Wenger voice?
I can't. It's really bad.
Okay.
It's really bad.
I
thought
really
about doing
purse
it.
your
I did.
entire,
I really
your lips, your entire
my
face
entire
must be
face
pursed.
and perhaps even into my chest. But there was a quote where he said something along the lines of, everyone's so focused. Here I go. I'm trying.
That is good.
Everyone's so focused on all the signings we're supposed to make that they've forgotten about how good the players are within our squad. Typical Arsène Wenger talk there, shifting the focus away from the signings he will probably not end up making, and talking about how great all the people are in the squad right now. So I think it was a little bit of, Fulham really being a bad team, and we talked about them a while ago, potentially being a team that could slip into the relegation battle this year.
Certainly.
Yeah, and Arsenal did them under today. So I do think it is a little bit of, a bad team. They are going to get a stern test out of Spurs. Not that Spurs don't have their faults as well. So I think it's going to be a really interesting North London derby.
That will be a pretty interesting. Because I feel like you guys, you can say about every club, but those are two teams that we're just not sure what's going on there.
Right. And they're pretty much the two teams that everyone is expecting to battle for fourth place. There's, Liverpool could come into that as well, but
maybe.
We'll see.
Well, maybe it's like, Tottenham's got 6 points, but it's like, what do they have? Like, what do you have off of that to be like, yeah, look at us?
We have 2 penalties.
2 penalties.
And no goals in the run of play. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. So it'll be interesting.
All right, so let's move stateside. Talk a little MLS.
I think we play soccer over here.
Do you want to start with the tragedy that was whatever you want to call that over in Salt Lake?
Yeah, we should probably start there.
Okay.
So let's start with our local Crew. Buzzing after their 2-game winning streak, their first winning streak of the season, which tells you how great of a season we're having in Columbus. And they find themselves at league-leading Real Salt Lake with a well-rested Beckerman back in the lineup. Mm-hmm. They also had their starting goalkeeper. So Nick Armando was back in the starting lineup as well. And they absolutely got their asses kicked.
It was, I want to say from I think it was from MLS.com, the statement, things went from bad to worse.
They really
Things went from bad to worse. I'm still trying to figure out what happened there at the end with Higuain.
So there was a lot of speculation on Twitter immediately after it happened, like he had said something, maybe it was for dissent.
Well, because they went to break, and they were like, we'll find out what happened, and then they come back, and they're like, well, they lose tonight, blah, blah, blah. That's all for us here, not in Salt Lake, in a fake green screen studio.
Yeah, and that's one of the let's sidebar there for a second.
Okay.
Why do we have a 30-second post-game show? Why can't we have,
rough.
10 minutes maybe?
Well, you got one guy.
Yeah.
Just kind of talking to himself.
Well, that would
require...
require...
In a green screen.
Yeah, that's true.
A green screen studio, not on site.
Dwight Burgess. Now, credit to Dwight Burgess. He's been doing this since the Crew have been a team.
He does a great job.
He does okay. Everyone will roll their eyes at his euphemisms, and they should. But at the same time, he does an okay job.
See, I think to be an American and call soccer, you have to. There's a fine line between looking like a Euro wannabe douche or just an idiot American, and you kind of gotta just weave your way through the middle there.
I worry that I leaned way too far towards the front end of that,
But I think as a play-by-play man who is an American, you kind of that's a tough road.
That's true.
So I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah. All right. So back to the Crew performance. It was abject. As it turns out, it sounds like Higuain's red card, it was red card. Second yellow. Was for
first yellow was already taking him out of the next match, Seattle match.
Right. Was that for the elbow? So I think
that was legit.
Yeah.
There's no discussion on that one.
No, not at all. So you have to wonder what he was even thinking. But
so the second yellow takes place off camera,
so no one can see it.
Again, our guy is not there on site, so he can't. He has no other extra eyes. He just has what we see.
Right. So apparently, he said something that the assistant referee heard. I mean, no one really knows. I haven't seen an official explanation.
I even tweeted at Adam. I tweeted at Adam Jardy today, Monday, and said, "Do we have an official word on that?" And he said, "No, we still don't have an official word." That was this afternoon. I don't know if that one has come down since then.
None that I've seen. But we do know that he's going to be out the second game. So
that's 2 games.
Yeah.
They said there will be no further punishment beyond that.
Which is nice, I guess.
We're kind of already at 2 games, though. So.
But that sound that you hear right now, that's the sound of evaporating Crew playoff chances. As slim as they may have been before that point.
They were already not too big.
There is no way without him the next 2 matches that they're going to be able to do anything, let alone make the playoffs. So.
Well, I mean, you look at their 2 games they won.
Right.
Who was the offense there?
Well, the only guy who scored
for them. Who
finished
things, yeah.
Yeah, in the last 4 games. So, while we're talking about the Crew, we should probably talk about a little, attention they got, a little national spotlight they got.
And positive publicity.
Right, which is rare for this team. So, Brian Strauss, he's the new writer for Sports Illustrated.
He was from Sporting News, I believe, right?
Yeah. Originally. Great writer, probably one of the best in American soccer reporting. Did a great expose on the Crew and their new owner, Anthony Precourt.
And
did you have a chance to read it?
I did have a chance to read it. I tweeted it out. It was, if you're a Crew fan, this had so much in it. Precourt spoke a lot about what he has for the future, what his goals are, what his plans are. It was an article you went away with. Luckily, I read this. I should have read this after Saturday night, but I read it like Friday.
Right.
So it didn't take away the sting of Saturday. I should have waited like Sunday morning, read that or something like that.
Right.
Just so much positive here. I pulled a couple quotes. At one point, Precourt says, "We want to be the Green Bay Packers of MLS, a small market team that is globally relevant and has consistent winning tradition."
That's lofty.
That's huge, though. Yeah, it is lofty.
So, if we're going to be the Green Bay Packers, does that mean that you and I can buy shares in the Crew?
As long as those shares are virtually meaningless, like the shares that my family owns.
So, I don't want any meaningless shares. So, what exactly do you think he means by that?
I think it means, the Green Bay Packers are a huge brand in the NFL. At the same time, they are in a city that probably half, maybe a third of the size of Columbus.
Yeah,
it's a small city.
Absolutely.
So Columbus is one of these smaller cities in the MLS.
Absolutely, one of the smaller markets for sure.
So I guess what they're saying is to kind of just be that small market giant. Well, be able to, if you're able to establish a winning tradition, if you're able to, and a lot of this has to come down to, there has to be a huge wealth of support from the fans.
Right.
But being a small market club where you got a full support, you are the thing. The Packers are the thing in Green Bay. They're the thing in the state of Wisconsin. So I guess at least from a soccer perspective, drawing as much fan base, as much of it's your dollars.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, in a lot of ways, it's needing that fan base that is always there with their money. And they even actually today shot out this little video of a couple season ticket holders talking about how awesome it is to own season tickets.
To the Crew.
Including the drummer from Flogging Molly's talking about his season tickets.
Well, I think that is a good way and a good example for Precourt to kind of position the Crew. The thing is, do you think that the Crew could really ever be... Is
it obtainable?
Yeah, could they ever really be the thing in Columbus? Because there is really only one the thing in Columbus, and it's the Ohio State University and their football team. So
I think it's a hard goal from that standpoint. Listen, I don't know. That's my interpretation of what he means. And as a Green Bay Packer fan, I can kind of say, what it means to be a Packer fan, what it means to support that team is, I think, different than other sports teams.
Right, that's true.
There's less of a corporate feel, more of a family feel. There's more of a, this is our thing.
Right.
So, and that's, he kind of goes on to saying that, he wants the fans and the community
to be a bigger part of the team.
Yeah. Which is good.
And I think that's definitely something you can do. And there's no doubt that the Crew need to grow the fan base and actually kind of get themselves into Columbus, which they've not really done that great of a job of doing. So there's definitely a market that they can tap into, definitely a fan base that they could grow. And positioning themselves and wanting to be more of that community club is definitely a good first step for them.
Well, and that was one of the other things they talked about, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Throwing out the idea of either, do you... I mean, Strauss more or less threw this out of, like, what do? Do they completely remodel?
The existing digs?
Do they do that? But see, and he pointed out the caveat to that is it's not just getting a nicer stadium, it's getting a nicer surrounding to that stadium.
And that's the biggest problem. We talked about this already, but it's absolutely the biggest problem with where Crew Stadium is its location. And there's nothing to do near there. I mean, at best, you're looking at a mile and a half walk from High Street over from 4th Street Bar, which is where the Crew Union meet before their matches. But at the same time, that's a pretty long walk. Most fans are going to want to walk a couple blocks, from a pint, have a pint at a bar nearby, and then walk to the stadium.
And listen, I mean, right downtown is the perfect example of what you want. The Arena District, where a Blue Jackets fan can walk to a bar across the street. I mean, not, like right there, on site, essentially, is a bunch of restaurants, some bars, just places to go, places to spend your money, hang out, make a full day of it, where you can go somewhere before, go out to eat before, go out for drinks after. You can, the unions can meet.
Right. It's not just the game that you're going to. You're going to a night out on the town. And doing that at a Crew game, because it's very isolated, is very difficult.
It's hard to make the Crew game an event.
Right. An evening.
It's just a game.
Right.
You go to it.
Then you get in your car.
Then you leave.
And you go home. So, I mean, that's something that they need to look at, and whether it's move downtown or develop the area around Crew Stadium, which seems like a much more difficult task.
Well, it was kind of thrown out in the article about even do you build something on site, like a giant Crew pub on site.
That would be pretty freaking awesome.
That would be pretty awesome.
So, I mean, there are a lot of things that are being tossed around. There's a lot of work that would go into something like that, seeing as how that's currently leased ground from the fairgrounds. So I doubt the fairgrounds are going to want to give up all their parking. But at the same time, it's definitely something they can look at. And look, long term, I think this team's probably going to end up moving their stadium somewhere else in Columbus.
It seems like that just makes sense.
But for the time being, I think the next quote that I think you're probably going to talk about,
$200,000 are going to be spent to replace bleachers on the east end. They will be turning that into 2,400 actual physical seats.
So that wasn't what I was thinking, but that's actually...
Whoa, I'm sorry. What did you think? Let me read that quote then.
Yeah.
Shuffle my papers here. And this is from Precourt here. The crest.
Yep.
It's one of my highest priorities.
Yep.
He said that he goes, the colors are great.
The name?
Great. Crest has to be changed. And he pointed out, like, there's no really anything to signify where this... If you're just looking at the logo, there's nothing to say Columbus, Ohio.
Right. And everyone does need that further explanation, which was something he really pointed out. When you say Columbus, everyone has to follow it up with Ohio. Because if you say Columbus, there's a Columbus in just about every state. So everyone's looking at, what Columbus?
Columbus, Georgia?
Yeah. When did the Crew move there? So there are a lot of things that I think he can do for the team that will have an immediate impact. And changing the brand and making them a little bit more relevant to the Columbus scene is definitely going to be a part of that.
It looks like there's 3 hardworking dudes that are out.
Yeah.
He even pointed out, I don't have the direct quote here, but something like, this is not a blue-collar town anymore.
Right.
It's a white-collar town. I mean, there's tech jobs, there's nationwide.
A lot of young professionals, and that's the crowd they really want.
It's not the factory steel mill or whatever it was city that it used to be.
Absolutely. So there are things he can do now, but what you really like is, the highlight that the Crew are getting on a national level. That never happens to us. And
it was positive, too.
And it wasn't like they were talking about it. Yeah, absolutely. And the last time this team was talked about is when we won an MLS Cup.
Sure.
So it's good to actually be relevant again.
And then one last quote from him, and it kind of ties in more to the first quote there about, the winning tradition. We want a culture of consistent winning, playoffs, and hopefully a few championships or two.
Ambition.
Ambition is good.
Perhaps hinting at future player arrivals.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's something that a lot of fans read into that statement as well, is that maybe we'll see another DP in Columbus. Maybe one is not enough.
Well, and we know that, actually. He's gone on record saying that, it's going to be a full evaluation of the product on field.
Right. So I'm buoyed by comments like this. I think he's saying all the right things. He's definitely in the good graces of the fans so far, which is definitely something you can't say about the Hunts.
Hanging out with the fans, too.
Yeah. So, Anthony, you're doing a good job so far, my man.
All right, staying with the MLS, one other story that's kind of made news, I guess. Seattle had a signing that made his home debut?
Yeah, some guy named Clint Dempsey had his home debut. The whole hashtag Watch Dempsey.
Mm-hmm.
I had an entry into their.
What was the end game on that? What did you win?
I didn't win anything.
What would you have won?
What would I have won, and what I feel I should have won? No, I'm just kidding. The person who won did a wonderful job as well. But you could win 2 tickets to the sold-out 67,000 match.
Are they flying you there?
They flew you there, covered
awesome.
Your hotel expenses and everything.
Beautiful.
And they did a little, reminder post the day of saying, like, hey, don't forget. And they put up some examples. And the winning one was, of course, in the examples. But right at the top of the examples, wrong side of the ponds.
Boom.
And I was really
so close.
You should have seen the excitement on my face that day. And, I turned to my wife. I was like, well, hopefully we can go to Seattle on Sunday, huh? And she goes, you better get your mind set on not winning those tickets. And I didn't. But,
the realist.
So anyway, they did have 67,000 people.
Huge. The third largest worldwide of the weekend.
That's amazing.
For soccer.
That's amazing in American soccer. And we say this every time this happens, but that is a clear sign that we're doing something right in this country.
At least in Seattle.
At least in Seattle. That's true. And Cascadia.
Yeah.
So there was a match.
There was an actual match that took place.
Outside of the crowd, there was a match.
I deemed it a fast-paced. It was fast-paced and boring at the same time, which is generally not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely...
The first half was, at least.
There was definitely some sloppiness to the match. No one could complete a pass. I mean, anyone.
But isn't that's somewhat indicative of just playing in Seattle?
Yeah, it is.
That field.
Everyone, and that field is definitely something worth noting. Clint Dempsey did okay. Definitely looks like he's still adjusting to that type of surface. The field definitely tripped him up a few times, at least the way I saw it.
My buddy Simon Evans from Reuters, he mentioned that he feels like every match he watches that takes place in Seattle has kind of a pinball feel to it.
I saw that. I did see that. Yeah, it's a great way of explaining it. So it's a fast pitch. You expect the ball to ping around. I will say, outside of, Dempsey's debut, Portland are a really good team. In particular, and this is beating a dead horse and probably beating a drum that everyone's beating right now, but Diego Valeri, that through ball that he had in like the opening 10 minutes to release Johnson for Portland was amazing. And then Darlington Nagbe was a beast in the second half for Portland, just absolutely dominated the match, and it was fun to watch. So I'm looking forward to more Caleb Porter ball. The one other thing that was surprising about that match, and very uncharacteristic, at least in the games I've seen Caleb Porter coach, their strategy against Dempsey was beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I think he had drawn 3 to 4 fouls in the first half alone, probably like 4 to 5 others where he played on, where they had advantage. So I was really kind of amazed at that, and I think that's something that Clint Dempsey should get very used to in the remainder of his MLS seasons. I think everyone is going to come out and try to rattle him.
Do you think, looking at it right now, so Seattle gets the victory, helps us out in the standings, obviously, but do you think Dempsey's really going to make an impact this year? Or is it going to be probably next year?
Well, he definitely, and I don't want to be too harsh on him because everyone was saying he didn't have the best of games, but he is coming off a preseason right now.
Sure.
He's had a break. He's playing with a bunch of guys that are in mid-season form, and he's trying to learn everything on the fly. So you feel a little bad for him. But at the same time, I think you're right. I don't know that we're actually going to see a true impact with Clint Dempsey until he's had a half season, a season to settle in with the team, and them to actually build themselves around them.
I mean, I think Twellman said something like, that's August transfers just don't end up doing much in the end because they just don't have enough time to get in and get assimilated.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So, any other MLS notes?
I did want to make note of the Montreal-Houston game.
Okay.
Houston generally one of the better teams in MLS, although it's kind of, wishy-washy around the top of the pack right now. They were absolutely blown apart by Montreal. Absolutely just dominated. So 4-0 loss for them up in Canada. And then other than that, the other thing, just worth saying again, Real Salt Lake, I think, are the real deal. I think they're a really good team, and probably
they certainly showed it.
Yeah. So mercy rule next time.
They need the Little League World Series mercy rule.
Yeah.
That might have been better.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it would have ended before the red card. That would have been good.
Anything would have been better then.
All right. Anything else before we get to our pub of the week?
No, I don't think I have too much outside of that.
Okay. Well, then,
let's get on to the pub of the week. Yeah. So, wanted to highlight another pub in the Wrong Side of the Pond Pub Atlas. I'm going to keep hawking this thing every podcast. So, if you've never been before, we have 160 pubs across the U.S. and Canada listed in my Wrong Side of the Pond Pub Atlas. So, go and find one that's close to you.
I hear it's been getting some love on Reddit.
It has been getting some love on Reddit. Every once in a while, I'm a big fiend on checking my traffic, day in and day out. And every once in a while, you see a big spike on that. And almost always that coincides with someone asking in one of the various subreddits, an MLS team subreddit or, MLS or even into the regular soccer one. Where can I go watch this game, in this particular city? And someone will end up suggesting it. It's a big spike. So it's always good to see that. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. But this week, we're going to highlight another pub, kind of local. You may have heard of it if you spent any time at all in Indianapolis. Chatham Tap or Chatham Tap.
Chatham Tap in Indianapolis.
In Indianapolis. There's actually two of them. They have one up on the north side of town, but the one that I've been to the most is actually down in Mass Ave, right outside of downtown. Great little bar, awesome location. They will open up at the crack of dawn for matches. I am particularly fond of it because that's where Indianapolis Spurs meet. I've met a few of them a few times. They're a good group. So if you're ever in Indianapolis, check it out. They've got a nice selection of taps, good rotations going on. Delicious breakfast food, I might add as well. A lot of bars don't actually offer up any food for us to munch on.
Indianapolis, fairly underrated beer scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would actually say very underrated beer scene.
First off, Indianapolis is a great city.
Great city.
Glad as hell they finally got themselves a good soccer team with Indy 11 launching up here next season.
I got a couple of their pens that I stole from the Chelsea match because they kind of helped facilitate a lot of that.
Yeah, they did. I actually did an interview with their chairman, Peter Wilt. Definitely check that out on the blog. Really good guy, knows his stuff about running teams here in the U.S. But great town. Absolutely great town. Great beer scene as well, like you said. And they've got themselves a really good soccer pub in Chatham Tap. So go check them out.
All righty. Anything else? Any cleanup?
I played my college alumni game over the weekend.
How was that?
Yeah.
Did you have to hit the Advil hard afterwards?
I definitely needed to. So we played the varsity. The alumni get to play the varsity team. This is the team that went to the National Division III National Final. We did get, a bit of a clap. We did get cleaned. Our clocks cleaned pretty well in the final. But that said, a pretty big achievement for a small school in Northwest Ohio. But that said, I had my Ohio Northern alumni game over the weekend. We played the varsity, and we lost 5-2. I did get the start, but gave away the first goal, so that was pretty disappointing. So old man legs definitely failed me there.
You got burned?
Yeah. I slid out to block a pass for a through ball and actually dropped the ball right to the guy next to me.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so while I blocked the pass, I really gave an assist to the guy next to me instead. So other than that, it was really good. Good to see a bunch of old guys I haven't seen in a long time. Run around, get the blood flowing in the legs.
Those old bones going.
Yeah, so maybe next year I'll show up in shape.
Cool.
So.
Second week of NBC coverage. Any thoughts on that?
I was pretty impressed. I mean, they continued.
Still good.
Yeah, I mean, it's still markedly better than what we had with Fox. Not to rag on Fox, they were great for a long time, but
you don't miss Ronaldo yet?
I don't think I'm ever going to, but that's me.
Not even Barton?
I do miss Barton. But
Not even Stoner?
But I'm getting all of them in my Fox Soccer Daily.
You know what? That is one of the shows I haven't seen yet because Dish Network, for some reason, giving me Fox Sports 2, Fox Sports 1 nowhere to be found.
Huh.
Well, at least not on the multi-sports package, which actually talked to a guy in customer service about that last night because I was just a little peeved about that whole situation.
Okay.
And he was kind of hinting around at the fact that since Fox Soccer goes away a week from today,
right,
it's replaced by a movie channel, not exactly multi-sports, which is what package it's part of. There might be a swap out. So hopefully, when we sit down here next week, I'm talking about finally getting able to watch that show.
Well,
and just in time too for next Monday.
That's true. Well, don't get too excited.
Is it not that good?
I mean, it's good, but it's not anything to get excited about.
Do they go a little heavy on the Grant Wall?
No, not so far. I mean, he's only made one appearance so far from what I've seen.
Because I saw a clip of that Jose interview.
It's like a compressed, hour pregame show that they used to do for actual matches.
Is it a little too frantic or kind of all over the joint?
It's actually pretty well done. I mean, overall, it's a good daily soccer show. It's a definite step up from Fox Soccer, whatever it used to be.
Fox Soccer News?
Yeah, Fox Soccer News. It's markedly better than Fox Soccer News.
What's in the big Fox set?
Yeah, it is. So, production value alone has gone up dramatically.
Is it? So it's just the same crew? It's just Barton, Winalda,
Rob Stoner? Yep. I feel like they have a girl that's been doing some stuff for them, too.
Yeah?
But it's slipping my mind.
You don't want to comment about her physical appearance this week?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm going to steer clear of that since that caught me some slack last week. Rebecca Lowe is doing an excellent job hosting. I don't want to make it sound like I'm only focusing on her looks.
We're in her camp.
Yeah, we're in her camp. I'm not saying she did a bad job. So
she did a great job.
Yeah. No complaints, Rebecca Lowe.
Keep
doing your thing.
Coverage, still loving the fact that you can get it online, still loving the fact that you can if you have DirecTV or some provider that offers all the games right there in HD for no extra cost. You're not being charged for this.
I need to get off Time Warner.
You kind of had a bit of a...
I had a little meltdown.
You had a meltdown on Saturday. You thought the crew game was not going to air?
Yeah, it was looking dangerously close that way. We had the Reds on Fox Sports Ohio.
Yeah.
Which is normal.
I had it in front of my face because I was there covering the game, so I was kind of locked into that. I was stuck.
Okay, fair enough.
So at least you had an option that possibly it was going to be on the air.
But the alternate channel also said the Reds and was showing MMA fighting. So I was feeling pretty nervous that, 3 to 4 minutes before kickoff, we weren't even switched over to the crew feed.
We're not in the tough part of the year, though. The tough part is like April when you got Reds, crew, and Blue Jackets all going.
At one time. Yeah, it is tough.
And crew always loses that fight.
Yeah, they do.
They always lose that fight.
Welcome to being a soccer fan in Cincinnati.
Oh, well. All right. Anything else? Wrap it up. We got North London Derby this week. We got... I think we'll have to try to do it Monday next week because we got to have our big transfer deadline show.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to talk about what went down.
If anything.
Probably
of course, anytime one of the big networks goes, hey, we're going to do a big blowout for deadline day, nothing happens.
Crickets.
Like Fox Soccer did like wall-to-wall coverage, gavel-to-gavel coverage, transfer deadline day in January. Nothing happened.
It was a good way for Fox Soccer to go out.
It was a good way to just read a lot of tweets.
Yeah.
And in the banter zone.
I know. The banter zone was in full effect that day.
Do you miss the banter zone?
I don't miss the banter zone.
Is the banter zone going to make Champions League appearances?
Oh, I'm sure it will. I think it's already making its appearances in Fox Soccer Daily, so it will live on.
Who has the better chance this year of making Champions League appearances, the banter zone or Gareth Bale?
Oh, let's leave that for next week, huh?
That's a good way to close.
All right. It's been fun, kids.
Bye-bye.